Hello guys, welcome back to the Geosphere. Today I'll be interacting with you another important topic from the geomorphology section, that is about the volcanoes. In 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius volcano erupted and blasted off gases and ash and pyroclastic material up to the stratosphere, so that the Roman city of Pompeii was totally buried under the ash. It was only in 1770 that the remains of the buried Pompeii were rediscovered. They found people trapped who were trying to move, people who were trying to take shelter, and people who were trying to run away from that blast. There were beautiful castles which were totally buried, bridges and beautiful palaces and all that. They were unearthed and rediscovered in 1770 to see the great impact of the Vesuvius volcano, which totally covered up with this huge blow of dust, pyroclastic and ashes. So that is such a devastating impact an volcano can have. So today we'll be interacting on understanding what is a volcano, what are the types of volcano. Basically you have active volcanoes, dormant volcanoes and extinct volcanoes. The extinct volcano has not erupted in the recent past, whereas a dormant volcano can have the potential of erupting in the near future. And so there also the volcanoes can be classified based on how the eruption has occurred, either through a central fissure or through different vents or fissures like we had in the Deccan Traps. And the central fissure eruption is a typical example is Cotopaxi volcano. We will also try to understand the structure of the volcano, the internal structure, and we will also understand the types of volcanoes based on the magmatic eruptions. That is the Plinian volcano, wherein the bubbles and the gases are erupted in such a way that they form cloud-like material and they reach heights up to even stratosphere. And then you also have this Strombolian type. Strombolian type is the eruption is quite low in height, but it gives out andesite type of magmas. And then you have the Hawaiian type, which gives basaltic type of magma. It's also lower in height, but the extent which the basaltic lavas flow is very large, because the basaltic magma is less viscous, so it can spread far and wide. And then you have the phreatic eruptions, wherein the volcanic material interact with the underground water and then spew out water along with the magmas. And then there are a lot of material which are ejected when a volcano erupts. But broadly they can be classified into, say, liquids like and Pahoha, and also the pillow lava, and then you have solids like the cinder cone, lapilli, etc. And then you have also the gaseous like the nuae ardente, lahars, etc. So we will understand what are the various products which are erupted during volcanic eruption, and then of course we will also understand the distribution of volcanoes. As you are aware, 60% of the volcanoes occur in the ring of fire, the circum-Pacific belt, and the remaining occur in the Mediterranean and the Asian regions. So, and then we will also understand what are the benefits, if any, of volcanoes, and if we can actually predict volcanoes so that proper resilient and precautionary measures can be taken before the eruption of volcano. So now I'll show you some slides. Please pay attention. Volcanoes has not recently come, except the phreatic eruptions have come maybe I think in 2018. So there can be a repeat of question in volcanoes, because volcanoes are a very important topic. So this is the topics on volcanicity. So as I said, these are the remains of Pompeii in 79 AD, when the volcanic eruption struck the Roman city, and this is where you can see the cities which were destroyed. You can see that in the red dots, and you can see that the entire grey portion is the smoke plume which erupted and stayed there for nearly 2 days. And here you can see the rediscovered city in 1770, how the people were trapped and killed after the month of volcano. And you can see some people hiding from the volcano in the castles. So the word volcano has been derived from the Roman god of fire, which is Vulcan, and it's typically a conical mountain formed around a vent where lava, pyroclastic material and gases are erupted. The volcanic eruption consists of an explosion accompanied by the eruption of lava, gases, and blowing of the surrounding rocks, which are thrown up as pyroclastic material. Then the 3 types of volcano: active, dormant, and extinct. Active volcano is one which may have occurred in the last few centuries. For example, the Vesuvius in the 79 AD, which I already told you. And then it again was active in 2000. In 1918 in the form of St. Helens. And these are the active volcanoes. You can see the pics. Then the dormant volcanoes are quiet, but these are also termed as the sleeping giants, because they can anytime they have the potential to erupt at any time. The Mount Rainier, Seattle, Washington. And then the seismic activity can kick off as far as in New Zealand. So the extinct volcanoes, there has been no eruption in the historical times, no record of any eruption, no signs of erupting again, and there are also no lava feeders. So it's unlikely that the volcano is going to erupt anywhere in the near future. One of the examples is the Edinburgh Castle, as you can see in the picture. So this is the Deccan Trap 60 million years ago. This is a fissure type of volcanic eruption wherein the basaltic lava made layers and layers of spread of the basaltic magma and got erupted and was laid down as traps. So beautiful Deccan traps. So the maximum height of the volcanoes, in case there is some question in prelims related to arrange the following volcanoes in terms of their height, you can say the Cotopaxi in Ecuador was one of the highest volcanoes, Chimborazo again in Ecuador, and then Ocongo in Chile, and then Hawaii Islands in Pacific. These are the volcanoes with the highest. So the volcanic distribution, most volcanoes, as I've already said, occur around the Ring of Fire, nearly 60% of them, followed by the Mediterranean, and then you can find the spreading centers within the oceans. Then this is broadly the volcanic distribution. You can see the Ring of Fire. This is where the maximum number of volcanoes have erupted and are likely to erupt. This is the structure of a volcano. It has a magma chamber, and then from there is a vent which leads to a pipe, and from pipe there is a crater through which the volcano explodes. Once it has exploded, it can also later on form different cones which come and join the main vent, and then it can erupt again a second time, maybe on the second day. Then the parts of the volcano, basically it has a crater and a caldera. Crater is a circular pit where due to unequal accumulation of volcanic products around the mouth occur. Then apart from this, there are secondary cones and craters and parasitic craters in and around the craters. Then there is a caldera, which is a very huge crater. Water can get accumulated after the rain here in the crater. It forms a crater lake. And then there is also an explosion caldera, which they, along with the water, can explode. And there is also a subsidence caldera, which does not explode but just subsides dead in the volcano itself. So classification of volcanoes can be based on the type of lava eruptions along the form and location of the vent, the central type, as I've said. You can see right in the middle of the volcano, you can see the vent, and Cotopaxi is the volcano which is a good example of the central type, and the fissure type is the Deccan Trap volcano, which erupted 65 million years ago. These are fissure types which have their more than one vent it has at different places. And then the classification based on magmatic eruptions, this is important and latest. This is the Plinian eruption, the Strombolian eruption, Hawaiian eruption, and Phreatic eruption. The Plinian eruption is characterized by large gas blast eruptions which are very loud, and the columns extend the smoke and ash high up into the stratosphere. The ash also gets deposited over large areas, and eruptions can last from one day to several months. Then the Strombolian eruption, here this is basically an andesitic lava eruption. So eject lava bombs to altitudes of tens to hundreds of meters. It's a low level eruption but can last very long. And the lava flows here are very viscous. The andesitic magma is very viscous, so it flows into limited directions but very fast. Then the Hawaiian eruption is again a low level eruption, but here it is the lava is basaltic. The basalt lava has very low viscosity, so it can flow very far off. Then the phreatic eruption occurs when magma gets into contact with the groundwater present nearby. The water evaporates nearly instantaneously, and this causes a steam explosion. It typically includes rock fragments, pyroclastic material, gas, ash, etc. Then the products of volcanic activity, as I said, can be divided into liquid, solid, and gaseous. All three you can make just a table and show it in your answers. This is lava, which is volcanic liquid, and then if the silicon is present in a molten rock, it affects the viscosity. The more silica, the more viscous it becomes. And then this is the Pohoyo lava, which is basaltic lava. Again, it has low viscosity. It cools very slowly and it forms rope-like appearance. Our lava is a basaltic lava. It solidifies while it is flowing itself, but the pieces which get solidified are angular compared to the Pohoyo lava, which is rope-like. Then the pillow lava is they form spherical masses like pillows in the ocean floor. The lava gets extruded underwater. It cools and contracts in the form of pillows or spherical masses. The solid products are the pyroclastic material. It could be volcanic bombs. It could be bread crust bombs. It could be volcanic sand, dust, and volcanic ash. This is the volcanic ash. This is cinders or lapillae. They are about 2 millimeters to 64 millimeters. They are quite hazardous when falling because it can just burn you. Then these are bombs. These are larger than 64 millimeters. Their shapes vary, but generally they have sharp ends. This is scoria, which differs from pumice, and it's a vesicular volcanic rock in having large vesicles and thick vesicle walls, and hence it is quite dense. Then you have pumice. I'm sure you might have heard about pumice used in cosmetics, escape of gases in pyroclastic material. It has a little spongy appearance. Then the amygdalal structure, which is filling up of vesicles by other material. It could be foreign material as well. And then volcanic agglomerate. Here the pyroclastic material is highly heterogeneous. It could include breccia. It could include angular fragments as well. And then the gaseous products, important gaseous products apart from H2S, H2O, SO2, CO2, N2, HCl are the Neue Ardente and the lahars. So these are the lahars, are the mud flows. They become sources of water later because the melting ice cap and due to excessive rainfall, there is a kind of a mud flow which happens. And then these are very beautiful Neue Ardente, that is glowing ash flows. You can find clouds of dense gas and debris. It is a French term used for a glowing cloud. It happens with very high temperatures and very high speeds. So the Neue Ardente forms into volcanic eruption, hot debris rises, and then the gravity takes over and it falls all over the place. And debris totally descends rapidly, flows down mountain slope. It can travel up to nearly 80 miles, as you can see in the pic. And tsunamis are the waves generated by the volcanic explosion. You can see this is the Japanese the harbor wave. They are extremely hazardous because they travel vast distances and they strike with short distance. This is an example of Krakatoa volcano tsunami which killed almost 36,000 people. There are also the other features associated with volcanoes called the cinder cone. A cinder cone or scoria cone is a steep conical hill of tephra, that is volcanic debris, that accumulates around and downward from a volcanic vent. You can see it here like this. Then you also have lava cones. You see a beautiful cone piling up of lava flows, but it is less steep. Then you also have stratovolcanoes, which are composite cones, like you find very often. You see this in Mount Fuji. It is intermediate between lava cones and cinder cones. Then you also have shield volcanoes, very gently sloping lava cone for a wide area. So it resembles the Warrior Shield. So that's why it's called as a shield volcano. And then you have geysers, which are hot springs which emit water plus gases periodically. This is the old faithful Yellowstone National Park, USA. This is an example of a geyser. Then you have fumaroles, which are fissures or vents through which the volcanic gases are emitted. This is the Valley of 10,000 Smokes in Alaska. It's a very beautiful sight. Then the hot springs, you have a lot of hot springs from the volcanoes in Iceland. You can see the hot water produced by geothermal process. Then you have the Indian volcanoes in the Barren Islands, Andamans. So how to predict eruptions? There are at least 4 ways. One is to monitor the gas emissions. If there is any increased gas emissions you find anywhere, the CO2, SO2, H2O2, and there is evidence for large destruction of healthy forest, there could be a volcano is likely to erupt. Then you can also monitor changes in shape of mountains. The pressure from magma deforms the mountain, and you can use tilt meters near the mountains and detect the changes in the shape of the mountains. Then the tilt meter measures the ground tilt, how much is the stable ground, and the change from 0 indicates the shape of the change in which the mountain has followed. Then this is the orange line which was used to identify the volcanic eruption in the St. Helens. And then you can also use or map the lava flows and the lahars, and then count systematically the past eruptions, date on which each eruption has occurred, and calculate the periodicity of that volcano, and then extrapolate that and predict probably a volcano can occur like that. So the benefits of volcanoes, this is something which nobody talks about, but you should understand that the volcanic material that comes out of the Earth's crust, including the rocks, are a very important parent material for the soils. Very good organically also rich soils are formed due to the eruptions. Then there is a lot of energy that is generated from the heat of the volcano, which can be used for many purposes, and the pumice stone is used for many purposes, and the gas which come can actually be captured, stored, and used in multifarious ways for the industry. So that is all, guys, about volcanoes. This is it. Just stick to this much. I have covered almost all the topics related to volcanicity. So just stick to this presentation and slides, and you will have enough to write. But more importantly, draw the diagrams, particularly of these four eruptions: the Plinian, Strombolian, Hawaiian, and Phreatic. And then of course central and fissure type are very simple. Then also draw the structure of a volcano. This is done by one of my students. You can draw like this. And then of course volcanic distribution, you should draw the world map. And then also do write about the Deccan traps. So that's all, guys, as far as volcanicity is concerned. I'll catch up with you tomorrow or day after on the, I think there are hardly about two topics, the physical conditions of the Earth's interior, and probably the principles of the geomagnetism. These two topics I'll cover very soon. With that we'll be completing of course there is another topic of isostasy. That also I'll cover. So the next 3 chapters I'll cover, and we'll complete geomorphology with that. Okay, guys, thanks a lot for all the support, and stay focused, stay safe, and all the best, and bye.